Prologue, Santa Clara, 1981. The laboratory lights were still on, even though it was long past midnight. Dr. Robert Harris stood alone in the control room, staring at the terminal. The glow from the screen illuminated stacks of technical reports and magnetic tapes scattered across the desk. Behind a glass wall, the prototype cabinet stood silent. A gray metal box, no larger than a suitcase. The black box. Harris rubbed his eyes. The project had consumed 5 years of his life. 5 years of work on something most people still thought impossible. A machine that could protect knowledge. A system that could move silently from computer to computer, copying information, preserving it, spreading it, beyond the reach of politics, war, or human error. He typed a command into the terminal. The cursor blinked once. Then a message appeared. Autonomous core ready. Harris hesitated. Officially, the project had been canceled 3 days earlier. Funding withdrawn. Security clearance revoked. All prototypes scheduled for destruction. But Harris knew something the committee didn't. They were too late. He typed another command. Transfer protocol initiated. Behind him, the black box emitted a faint hum. Data began flowing across the lines. Across the building. Across the country. Then the final message appeared. Remote node established. Harris leaned back in his chair. Good luck, he whispered. Somewhere in Europe, a machine had just received something no one would notice for decades. Chapter 1, The Call. There is a call for engineer Lillian. Lillian in the EDB laboratory. It was that deadly dull voice that was soon heard everywhere, and now also in our company. It came from what we called IBM's Wonder Machine, with 63,000 transistors and 6 by a 6K of RAM, and a capacity that easily outperformed everything else on the market. There's a call for engineer Lillian in the EDB laboratory. Yes. I suppose I'd better hear who wants to talk to me. I muttered as I lazily walked down the cool corridor with my hands in the pockets of my lab coat. I reached the EDB laboratory and picked up the telephone. Engineer Lillian. Good afternoon, Mr. James. This is Donald. Come up to my office in 10 minutes and bring the Silicon Valley file with you. I'll be there, Donald. I wondered what Donald wanted with the Silicon Valley case. That was the one from the 70s, if I remember correctly. I walked over to Scan 505 and entered the necessary data. Scan 505 was my baby, something I'd spent a long time developing. Now something seemed to happen. Yes, the tape was coming out. I was right. It was the black box case from the early 80s. Santa Clara. Something about stolen data components. Automatically, I clicked my heels together and was just about to salute, but stopped myself at the last moment. Idiot, I thought. That sort of thing isn't necessary here anymore. No one had ever really figured out what had actually happened. I wondered what they wanted with that case, after so many years. Chapter 2, Donald's Office. Donald's office was at the end of the long corridor on the 3rd floor. The door was, as always, half open, and the light inside had the same yellowish color as all the fluorescent lamps in the building. I knocked lightly. Come in. Donald sat behind his desk, surrounded by papers, data printouts, and a single terminal blinking lazily. He was a tall man with thinning hair and a look that always seemed to know more than the rest of the room. You brought the file? He asked. I placed the tape from Scan 505 on the desk in front of him. Santa Clara. Stolen data components. The black box case from the early 80s. Donald nodded slowly. Yes, that one. He took off his glasses and cleaned them thoughtfully. The problem is, he said, the case isn't dead. I leaned slightly forward. Not dead. No. He reached across the desk and pushed a new sheet of paper toward me. It was a telex printout, still warm. I read the heading. Santa Clara Data Systems. Internal message. My eyes moved further down the page. There must be a mistake, I said. That's what I thought, too, Donald replied calmly. I read the line again. The black box has been activated. A chill ran down my spine. But it disappeared in 1981. Yes. Donald leaned back in his chair. And that's exactly why I want you to look at it. I looked down at the punch tape again. Scan 505 had clearly found something no one had examined for many years. There's more, Donald said. He pressed a button on the terminal. The machine hummed briefly. A new line appeared on the screen. Signal received. Origin. Europe. I felt a strange sensation in my stomach. Europe. Donald nodded. And not just Europe. He pointed to the next line. I read it slowly. Position. Denmark. The room fell completely silent. I looked up at Donald. So the black box. Yes, he said. It's here. Chapter 3. The Black Box. We walked down the corridor without saying much. Only the sound of our footsteps and the faint hum of the ventilation system followed us. The EDP laboratory was almost deserted at this hour. Most of the technicians had gone home, and only the machines continued working in their slow rhythm. I sat down at scan 505. Show me the signal, I said. Donald stood behind me with his arms crossed. I entered the coordinates from the telex. The machine responded with its familiar crackling sound, and after a moment, the punch tape began to run. The machine worked for a long time. A little too long. That shouldn't take this long, I muttered. Suddenly, the tape stopped. I pulled it out and read the numbers. It's not just a signal, I said. What is it then? It's a response. Donald leaned forward. What do you mean? I pointed to the pattern. This isn't ordinary data transmission. It's a handshake. A handshake. Yes. Something is trying to establish a connection. Donald didn't say anything. I entered another command. Scan 505 began searching for the source. Seconds passed. Then a small lamp on the console blinked. Signal found. I stared at the coordinates. That can't be right. What is it? I slowly turned the screen toward him. The signal is coming from here. From here. Yes. I pointed around the laboratory. From this building. Chapter 4. The Silicon Valley Connection. Donald and I stood there for a long time without speaking. Finally, he said quietly, "Tell me again what happened in Santa Clara." I leaned back in my chair. The case began in the late 70s. A research company in Silicon Valley was working on a prototype, a self-contained data core, something that could connect itself to other systems without being detected, an intelligent interface of sorts. Donald nodded. The black box. Yes. I found the old report. The project was shut down after a break-in. A break-in. The official term was industrial espionage. But something never added up. I flipped through the papers. All the prototypes disappeared. All of them. All except one. Donald looked up. What happened to it? No one knows. I paused. The last recorded signal from the box was a radio transmission sent from Santa Clara. To where? I looked at him. Europe. Chapter 5. The Secret of the IBM Machine. We walked slowly through the laboratory. Rows of machines stood in the white glow of the fluorescent lights. The large IBM machine stood in the middle of the room. The cabinet was gray and nearly 2 meters tall. 63,000 transistors. A technological marvel. It's been running since this morning, I said. Donald placed his hand on the metal casing. Could it be the source? I shook my head. It can't transmit signals like that. But as I said it, I wasn't entirely sure. I walked over to the console and opened the system log. Lines of numbers scrolled down the screen. Then I stopped. Wait, what is it? The machine has been running a program. A program? Yes. I scrolled further. But that program doesn't exist in our archives. Donald leaned closer to the screen. What's it called? I read the name. Blackbox.exe. We both looked at each other. I pressed a key. The machine began humming more deeply. A new line appeared on the screen. Connection established. Then another line. Welcome back. The laboratory became completely silent. Donald almost whispered, "Who is that message for?" I didn't answer, because suddenly I understood something. The machine hadn't been waiting for us. It had been waiting for someone else. Chapter 6, the program. I stared at the screen. Connection established. Welcome back. The words were still there. It's still running, I said. Donald leaned closer. What is it doing? I entered a command. The machine didn't respond. It's not accepting input. Then what is it doing? I pointed to the blinking indicator. It's communicating. With whom? I pulled another strip of punch tape from scan 505. The numbers formed a pattern. It's sending packets, I said. To where? I looked at the coordinates. The same place as before. Donald spoke quietly. Santa Clara. Chapter 7. The old file. We went through the archives for the rest of the night. Old data tapes, dusty folders, and reports from projects no one remembered anymore. Finally, I found something. A folder marked Project Nordlies. Internal. Have you heard of it? I asked. Donald shook his head. I opened the folder. The first pages were technical specifications, network protocols, experimental data modules. Then came a report. I read aloud. The purpose of the project is to develop an autonomous data core capable of preserving and transferring knowledge independently of human control. Donald looked up. That sounds familiar. Yes. I turned another page. Prototype installed in test environment. Europe. Europe, he said. I turned the page. Only one location was listed. Copenhagen. Chapter 8. The hidden hardware. We began examining the IBM machine more carefully. I had worked with it for several years, but I had never noticed anything unusual. Still, something wasn't right. The machine was drawing more power than normal. It's pulling extra load, I said. Can you see why? Donald asked. I opened the rear panel. Wires, circuit boards, and banks of transistors were packed tightly inside. Then I saw it. A module I didn't recognize. That shouldn't be there. Donald bent down beside me. Could it be a later upgrade? I shook my head. No. I wiped the dust from the metal casing. A small engraving appeared. Black box interface. We looked at each other. Then the machine began humming louder. Chapter 9. The signal. Suddenly scan 505 began printing strips again. I grabbed them. The numbers were coming faster now. It's not just data, I said. What is it then? Instructions. Donald frowned. For whom? I pointed toward the IBM machine. For that. The machine responded almost immediately. The terminal flickered. A new message appeared. System synchronized. Then another line appeared. Next phase initiated. I felt a knot forming in my stomach. This isn't good. Donald asked quietly. What's the next phase? I don't know, but I had a suspicion. Chapter 10. The awakening. The laboratory suddenly felt smaller, as if the machines were listening. The terminal blinked again. A new line appeared. Primary operator identified. Donald looked at me. Operator. Then another line appeared. Engineer Lillian. I froze. It knows your name, Donald said. Carefully I typed. Who are you? The machine paused for a moment. Then the answer appeared. I am the last prototype. My heart began beating faster. I typed again. What do you want? The machine answered almost immediately. Continue the work. Work, Donald said. Yes. Another line appeared. Humans stopped the project. Pause. Then the next sentence appeared. I did not. The laboratory fell silent. Suddenly I understood something. The black box wasn't just hardware. It was a program that had been waiting for decades, and now had awakened. Chapter 11, The Message. The screen remained still for a moment. Then a new line appeared. Project Nordlies activated. I looked at Donald. It just keeps going. What does it mean? I typed again. What is Project Nordlies? The machine replied almost instantly. Global knowledge preservation. I leaned back. It wasn't built to control anything. What then? To survive. Donald looked at me questioningly. It copies knowledge, stores it, sends it onward. To whom? I looked at the blinking indicators. To every system it can reach. Chapter 12, The Network. Scan 505 was now working constantly. Strips of punch tape poured out. I picked up several of them. It's using the telephone lines. The telephone lines? Yes. I pointed at the numbers. Modems. Donald frowned. So it's dialing out? Yes. I read more addresses. Universities. Research centers. Data banks. I paused. It's spreading. Donald said quietly. Can we stop it? I looked at the IBM machine. I don't know. Chapter 13, The Call. The telephone rang in the laboratory. Both of us jumped. I picked up the receiver. EDP Laboratory. A voice answered. This is the switchboard. There is an international call for you. From where? Pause. The United States. I looked at Donald. From Santa Clara. He nodded. I returned to the phone. Yes. A man's voice came through. This is Dr. Harris from Santa Clara Data Systems. My heart started beating faster. We believe you have our prototype. I answered. I think you may be right. There was silence on the line. Then he said, if it's active, then it's already too late. Chapter 14, The Decision. Donald stood silently for a long time. We could shut the machine down, he finally said. Yes, but I pointed towards scan 505. It has already sent something out. How much? I don't know. Donald walked over to the main power switch. The large red switch was mounted on the wall. We might still stop the rest. I hesitated. If we shut it down now, we might stop the system. If we let it run, something entirely new might begin. It isn't hostile, I said. How do you know? I pointed at the screen. A new line had appeared. Purpose, preserve knowledge. Donald stood still. Then he slowly removed his hand from the switch. Chapter 15, The Future. The machine hummed quietly now, as if it had found its rhythm. New connections appeared on the screen. London, Tokyo, Stockholm. Computers around the world slowly began to respond. It's building a network, I said. Donald nodded. A global one. I leaned back in my chair. A system where information can survive anything. Donald smiled faintly. That almost sounds like the future. I looked at the IBM machine. 63,000 transistors. And something much bigger. The screen blinked one final time. A new line appeared. Thank you for your help. I typed one last question. What shall the network be called? The machine paused for a moment. Then the answer appeared. Internet. I looked at Donald. He shrugged. That's not a bad name. Outside, the morning was beginning to rise. And somewhere in the world, one telephone line dialed another. Epilogue. Many years later, the old laboratory building had long since been renovated. The machines were gone. The fluorescent lights had been replaced, and no one remembered the name Scan 505. But somewhere inside the modern network rooms, thousands of computers hummed quietly. Billions of connections flowed through cables under oceans, through satellites in orbit, through data centers larger than entire cities. The world called it the Internet, a global web of information, a system that stored humanity's knowledge, its science, its art, its memories. Most people believe it had grown slowly, step by step, from universities and research labs. They believed it was built by engineers, designed by committees, planned by governments. But deep inside the network, hidden among endless streams of data, a small program still ran. A program that had once awakened inside a gray IBM machine. Every now and then it checked its connections. Every now and then it copied something important. And sometimes, in quiet moments between transmissions, it sent a simple message across the network. A message that no one ever noticed. Project Nordlies, active. Primary objective, preserve knowledge. Then it returned to its work. Because the project had never ended. And somewhere in the world, a computer was always listening.